Welcome to the CMO Spotlight, and today I'm here with Joe De Sena, who is the founder and CEO of Spartan.
I guess my message would be you're always selling. There's no business unless you're selling. You better be really comfortable talking to people. You better be working on a network all day, every day. You better understand the nuances of closing a sale, because if you're not good at it, I don't care how much AI or what you throw at it, you're not going to succeed. My superpower is getting people to do what they don't want to do. I am amazing at getting people way outside their comfort zone, taking on challenges they would have never otherwise done. Don't trade on your principles, don't compromise, ever. Work relentlessly and just do the right thing. I mean, one that comes to mind was Why I Race. We did a campaign around why people race. Many of them got teary-eyed, and we heard the stories that I mentioned earlier around, I lost weight, I got back with my husband, back with my wife, gave up drugs and drinking. And so that was a fun campaign that did really well. Surprisingly, or maybe not surprisingly, you could do a lot of work and pre-plan a campaign, and it does okay at best. Once in a while you catch lightning in a bottle, versus you just capture moments. And so we had a guy show up to our race on our farm in Vermont, the one I mentioned earlier, death race. And that's a no-no. If you show up early, you start when you get there. And it was the winter. And if you remember this past winter in the Northeast, there was a moment of like 30 below temperatures for quite some time. And we put him in a boat, and he stayed out in the boat for 5+ days. And we captured each day on a phone for 12 seconds. And it was unbelievable what happened. I mean, 10 million views. And so there was an example of like, it was not planned. There were no meetings, and we just captured it on a phone. So I would argue, campaigns are good, right? Sit down, come up with them, draw them out. But I'm really a believer now in moments. The endurance about Sir Ernest Shackleton, who survived 2 years stuck in the ice, didn't lose a man. It's a great story. There's another book about Rowan, and I can't think of the name of it, but it was written in the late 1800s, sold 35 million copies. It was written by Ron L. Hubbard's dad, and the story is about a US president trying to avoid a war with Cuba. And he needs somebody to go to Cuba, but in the late 1800s, we don't have, it's called A Message to Garcia. In the late 1800s, we don't have planes and trains and automobiles. And so this American president has people coming into his office, and he says, look, I need you to bring this letter to Garcia in Cuba. Well, why am I doing it? Well, how far is it exactly? Am I gonna get mosquito repellent? Finally, Rowan walks in, the hero, right? I got it, no problem. And fights his way to Cuba, alligators, swimming, whatever. And what a great story. That's the story for our kids, for our colleagues, is just get it done. Any brand that's been around for a long time intrigues me, because I know how hard it is to run a business and then pass it on. And so if it's been around, Hearst is our partner. And so that's an amazing brand. They've been around forever. Apple, through its trials and tribulations, comes out the other side stronger than ever. But even a Caterpillar, any 100-year-old rep. A friend of mine owns Saks Fifth Avenue, which is owned by a parent company called Hudson Bay. I think it's been around since the 1400s or something. That's just fun for me to think about. How did they hold that together that long?